from the Lakeside Newsroom of the Henrico Citizen, your hometown news source since 2001. This is the Henrico News Minute with publisher Tom Lapis.
CVS announces that some local stores will begin offering COVID-19 vaccines. We'll have all the details for you coming up on today's Henrico News Minute. It's Wednesday, February 3rd, 2020, and it's brought to you today by Henrico County.
And now for the news.
CVS Health will begin offering COVID-19 vaccinations at 28 of its Virginia stores on February 11th. The company made the announcement with federal officials yesterday. Those eligible for Virginia's Phase 1A and 1B inoculations who want to be considered will be able to begin registering at CVS on February 9th. You can visit cvs.com on that day and look for the links or call 800-746-7287. The company has not yet announced which stores in the Richmond area will be offering the vaccine. The company will offer as many as 26,000 total doses statewide, and it plans to expand to more locations as more doses become available. Now, if you've already registered or expressed an interest in receiving a vaccine through the Richmond and Henrico Health District's website, you can also still register for the CVS opportunities as well, according to local health officials. And speaking of COVID-19 vaccinations, Henrico Health Director Danny Avula, who's leading the state's vaccination efforts, says that within 2 weeks, local health districts in the state may begin receiving as much as 20% more vaccine weekly than they are receiving now. Henrico currently gets about 3,750 doses per week. The county's Board of Supervisors last night held a 90-minute information session about the vaccine. Health officials admitted that the current interest form available at vax.rchd.com does not include a way for seniors 65 and older to indicate that they also have pre-existing conditions, but a health department official said the form would be adjusted soon to provide that opportunity. The department also is creating an interest form for those 16 to 64 who have pre-existing conditions in anticipation of launching that form in the coming weeks. Between Richmond and Henrico, more than 104,000 people have already submitted interest forms in Phase 1B, and officials believe it could be as late as sometime in April before they finish with Phase 1B, unless vaccine totals increase. Henrico Deputy County Manager for Public Safety Tony McDowell said that every public safety and education employee of Henrico, Richmond, Goochland, and Hanover who wanted to be vaccinated should have received their initial doses by the end of this week. He also cited data that shows Henrico is leading the state in the rate of vaccination per 100,000 residents at nearly 11,100. The county is third statewide in doses administered with 36,682. Now, if you've already had your first dose and have not yet been scheduled for your second, you should expect to be notified the same way that you were notified the first time. If you have had no notifications or you have questions, you can email rhhdvax@vdh.virginia.gov. Officials also said that new Centers for Disease Control guidance have concluded that if you receive your second dose within 42 days of the first, you'll still be considered to be fully vaccinated. Also at last night's meeting, Deputy County Manager for Community Affairs Monica Callahan said that county officials intend to resume their door-to-door distribution of PPE, face masks, and also information about COVID-19 and about the vaccine with a focus on high-risk communities. If you want to see the whole meeting, it's available for your viewing at henrico.us/supervisors/video-of-meetings. Henrico reported 160 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday. That number is also the 7-day moving average of new daily cases in the past week. Only one new hospitalization related to the virus and unfortunately one new death also related to the virus were reported yesterday in the county, according to the Virginia Department of Health. Henrico's 7-day positivity rate among PCR tests has leveled out to 11.1% as of January 29th. And rapid or antigen testing encounters have dipped to a 7.4% average as of that same date. A bill that would have expanded the definition of a hate crime in Virginia to include crimes against people based on perception failed to advance out of committee. The Senate Judiciary Committee passed the bill by for the year late last month. 4 Democrats strayed from party lines to vote against it after much debate. Current state law defines hate crime victims as those who are maliciously targeted based on their race, religion, gender, disability, gender identity, sexual orientation, or ethnicity. That was passed during last year's General Assembly session. This year's bill, proposed by Senator Hashmi of Richmond, aimed to ensure that someone who maliciously attacks a person based on their perception of that person's membership or association within one of those groups is held to the same standard. Her bill also added color, national origin, and gender expression to the list of protected classes. She cited an incident during Black Lives Matter protests last summer in Henrico in which Harry Rogers, an avowed high-ranking member of the Ku Klux Klan, drove his truck into a crowd of protesters in Lakeside. Henrico Commonwealth's attorney Shannon Taylor said the person who was hit was not protected under current hate crime legislation because he's white. But 4 Democratic senators voted against the measure, saying that it was too broad. Hashmi says she hopes to reintroduce the bill with some changes next year. Wells Fargo announced earlier this week that it's moving 320 jobs from Innsbruck to Minneapolis and St. Louis. The employees being affected might be able to keep their jobs if they make the move. The company's wealth and investment management team is affected. Wells Fargo will still have about 1,700 people employed at its Innsbruck location. Those whose positions are being moved will be notified in writing by the third quarter of this year. On HenricoCitizen.com right now, you can click on Community and then Milestones to check out the latest roundup of achievements from the community. We publish them every week. If you have one to send our way, email us at citizen@henricocitizen.com. This can be related to a student making the dean's list or any personal achievement of note. Today's Henrico News Minute has been brought to you by Henrico County's Spread the Love Valentine's Day Card Initiative, sponsored by the Henrico County Engage program, which is inviting you to help make homemade Valentine's cards for the 8,000 long-term care residents in Henrico County. Cards are due by Friday, February 5th. For details, visit henrico.us/services/seniors.